Good morning, everyone. It is with great pleasure and enthusiasm that I welcome every one of you to this CXO Round Table, where we are gathered to dwell into the dynamic world of leadership and explore the transformation moments made within the industry of C-suite leaders. Today, we find ourselves at the forefront of the rapidly evolving business landscape where the paradigm of leadership are constantly being redefined. So, our theme, Redefining Leadership, exploring the CXO moments in the industry, could not be more relevant in this era of unprecedented change and innovation. The C-suite leaders has been regarded as the nerve center of strategic decision making within the organization. However, very nature of leadership is undergoing a profound transformation. The traditional hierarchy are giving a way to more agile, inclusive, and forward-thinking approach. Today's leaders must navigate through the challenges ranging from technology's disruption and global economic shift to societal expectation and environmental sustainability. As we embark on this enlightening journey together, let us not only explore the shifts in leadership but also seek inspiration to embrace innovation, diversity, and resilience in our own leadership journey. I now invite Mr. Kshitij Sachin, Leadership Coach, KEKA, to deliver the welcome speech. About Kshitij, for over a decade, he has been the forefront of helping businesses achieve remarkable growth by designing and implementing effective talent management processes. His expertise in identifying and developing the right talent has helped hundreds of organizations across the globe achieve 10x growth. Kshitij is a strong advocate of purpose-driven and trust-based leadership and has helped organizations to replace outdated command-based models with more effective approaches. He understands that great leaders inspire and empower their teams to achieve their full potential and has helped countless individuals and teams to do so. Over to you.
Thank you very much. All right, I'm not sure what to set as a context here. You all are leaders. So I welcome you all into the session. There was quite a big introduction about me, so I'll simplify it for everybody. So I'm a leadership coach at KEKA. I help designing the product from the aspect of it should fit the market, right? The other aspect is I've been helping the customers in onboarding, like moving out of traditional command-based leadership models into more trust and purpose-driven leadership models where the people itself can take care of the functions and the ownership of the organization. So I think what I'm supposed to do is give a little bit of brief of KEKA, so I'll do that. So we are like almost an 8 years old company now. Me and Nishan, we were in the first room that we settled in 2015. So we were like 7 people, and now it's 1,400 in the organization. So we had phenomenal growth in the space of HRMS, and today we look at it like we are the biggest HRMS vendor out in India, with close to 9,000 customers who are currently utilizing our product to manage their HR processes. So KEKA is an end-to-end comprehensive HR platform with all the modules that come into the market. We have it, and much more actually. So we are building AI-based future for HRMS, and that's the vision for future. So today's session, I think the CXOs move. From that standpoint, I'd like to talk about it a bit. So what I personally believe is that while the jobs were being created, so the Maslow hierarchy of need was in play in the beginning, right? So people were looking for the physiological, solving their physiological needs, then they go about esteem and aspects like self-actualization. So if you look at a CXO, they're always at a self-actualization stage, or maybe a transcendence stage which comes beyond it. Now, facilitating or being that state of mind is a continuous journey where we have to constantly be in touch with everybody in the pyramid, wherever our people are, and help them climb up. So from that perspective, it is evolving rapidly since last 2 years. Post-COVID, I think the changes are way more fast, and technology is coming up, and another, it's giving another angle to help process these leadership roles in an effective manner. So I'm here to learn from all of you, because we can't build a technology unless we have those best practices that we can actually aim for through it. So I welcome you all again. Thank you very much for being here. I think we can get started.
Thank you so much, Kshitij. And let's begin this discussion. Before we begin, I request everyone to introduce yourself. Let's start.
So hi everyone, very good morning, and I'm Kavita Azad, and I'm CHRO College Dekho. College Dekho is the largest higher education organization, and what we essentially do is empower the students to navigate through the higher education choices and enabling them, end to end onto that journey. So very excited to be here and looking forward to this interaction.
Hi, good morning, everyone. My name is Rahul Shankar, and I'm the CHRO of a company called Cube Highways. And Cube Highways is a concessionary platform where we own and operate the national highways. It's an investment-led organization, 8 years in the existence, and today we manage 35 highways across the country. Good to see you all. Thanks.
I am Gayatri and I am a Director HR with Fair Portal. Fair Portal is the second largest OTA of US. Looking forward to this session and learning from each one of you. Thank you.
Hi, good morning, everyone. I'm Sandeep. I'm Director Sales and Marketing for HCL Healthcare. So I'm a bit someone outside from this, but I welcome all. So thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Sandeep. Hi, everyone. This is Neeru Mehta. I head HR for Yellow.ai. It's a conversational AI omni-channel platform. So a lot of voice bots, chat bots, and many, is what our platform kind of enables for almost 1,000 plus clients across the globe. Thank you.
Hello everyone, hope it's a good morning. I'm Pooja Kapoor and I'm from the OLX group. I'm a part of the largest business unit for OLX Autos.
Here on this table, there's a microwave round table. That's a much more structure.
Hey everyone, this is Aarti. I take care of HR for AGL. AGL is an advertising, marketing, and technology company. And yes, advertising is something very close to my heart. I have been in this industry for close to 19 plus years of experience. And I look forward for the session wherein I'll be learning many, many things from each one of you and their the contribution in terms of the topic what we have taken today. Looking forward. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. This is Meenakshi Verma from EDAG. EDAG is a German company into automotive designing and engineering support, and I take care of HR and quality management system as director of the same. Thank you.
Hi, good morning, everyone. This is Mukul Mathur here. I'm an ex-group HR head for CJ Jarsal Logistics, and it's basically a total logistics player in the market with 5,000 people across the across India, and looking forward to an insightful discussion here. Yeah, thanks.
So hi. Good morning, everyone. My name is Shaleen Manik, and I represent Transsion India. I work there as a chief people officer. Transsion India runs mobile brands like Infinix, ITEL, and Techno. We are number 3 globally, and looking forward to interact with you individually and have some collective learning. So roundtables are always good because you meet our own fraternity people and get to learn more. So looking forward.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. I'm Sunanda Rao, and I'm representing WTI Cabs. We are one of the mobility industry which provides corporates with the cab facilities. So I'm here to learn and, of course, share my insights with the dignitaries.
Hi everyone, my name is Aprajita. I actually lead the HR team at India Gold. It's basically, our main product is gold loans. So we are actually now competing with banks, the bigger banks these days, and just digitizing the real interactions that customers really need. So yeah, I'm glad to be here.
Thank you. Very good morning. I'm Renu. I head this space of HR, working with the Air Liquide. I'm sure most of you would not know the name of this organization. I know. It's a French organization which is the world largest industrial gases, manufacturing the gases. And being for most, I think, 109 years old. But the kind of a topic I was looking at it, I'm really excited and looking forward to exchange your great practices and taking back to see how we can also implement. Thank you.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Okay. So I'm Shivani. I am heading HR in the DP world. We are into the logistic company, and I think must be people must be aware because now we are sponsoring the IPLs, we are sponsoring the World Cup and everything. So everything what you'll think for logistic, we are into it, and looking forward to have a good interaction with all of you.
Thank you. I'm always inspired when HR people talk business as well. And when I hear a lot about organizations, it tells us a lot about the HR moving to the next level. So, hi, my name is Karuna Ahuja. I lead the HR for a company called EMH Services. It's an Arganbright Group funded company. There are two entities that I take care of here in India. One is a product based setup, and the second one is a captive that we manage. And I lead HR along with employer branding as well as communications that I take care of for them. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm probably one of the two non-HR people in the room. I'm a psychiatrist. My name is Amit Malik, and I run a company called Amaha, which is a mental health organization that provides mental wellness support to employers. Yes.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. My name is Kiran. I represent Canara HSBC on this table today. I look after HR, admin, CSR, and communications for the organization. And it's my privilege to be here amongst all of you. Thank you.
Hi, good morning to you all. I think it's a very warm morning inside. Yeah, more than cozy, I believe now. It's quite getting hotter. So I'm Renu Bohra. I represented Shankar India till 31st December. I'm a CHRO, was CHRO there. I'm in a career transition. Looking forward to, I think, share best practices and learn more. I think we have.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Anshuman Chandra. I am the Director HR for Bill Gosling Outsourcing. A week back, we were known with the name of Matson Kumar Services. We are in the transition. We just got acquired last year. As part of Bill Gosling, this is an organization which is primarily into BPO ITES space with around 5,500 employee base in 6 countries. I manage recruitment and payroll for the India division. Looking forward for.
Hi, good morning, everyone. My name is Gautam Saraf. I work with brand called Ferns and Petal. You must have heard, I'm hoping that. So 77 countries there where we help customers to deliver their gifts, and 5 countries where we are operating. Asia's largest gifting company today. Yips. Happy to learn from all of you and interact with you all. Thank you.
Who doesn't know Ferns and Petals, Gautam? Hi, good morning, everyone. I'm Shaina here. I head HR for a leading aviation organization, global organization called Chelibi Aviation. So I head the India business for cargo, air cargo logistics, and the ground handling at 10 airports of India. Looking forward to meeting all of you and learning more. Thank you, everyone.
Good morning, everyone. This is Meenakshi. I'm the CHRO for JLL. JLL is a leading professional services organization, and we specialize in real estate and investment management. Really nice to be here today and meet all of you, and looking forward for great interactions. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. This is Asim. I represent a company called Multiplier Brand Solutions. It is a last mile solutions company for field force. We manage field force for big clients like Panasonic, Voltas, Nerolac, Canada HSBC, Transient G Mobile, and many more. So our main aim is to help brands to get the last mile efficiency and also drive culture at the last mile, which has been a challenge, and we do through staffing, retail branding, and tech and data solutions. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Kamaljeet. I'm the Chief People Officer for Gensol Group. Just to give you an understanding, Gensol is a leading renewable energy group. Just to put in perspective, we are helping building solar assets and joining the nation's commitment to have 50% electrification by 2030 and contribute towards the climate change. And while the solar renewable energy is the focus, we are also into electric mobility, and with Blue Smart as being one of the entities, and maybe few of you've experienced us. Our mission is to decarbonize mobility at scale, and look forward today to interact with all of you and share and our learnings and good cohort. So looking forward. Thank you.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Last but not the least, my name is Amla Avasthi, and I head HR for BlackBerry's menswear, one of the leading men's apparel in the industry. And we ensure we make men the handsome you. So that's here. Taking care of complete the culture, diversity, learning is what I enjoy, and that is what we as leaders have to ensure in each of our stepping stones that we are leading in our domains. So beautiful morning to all of you, and it would be a lovely interaction and a great learnings that we are going to exchange together. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. So let's commence this discussion. We have our moderator, Ms. Kiran Yadav. I hand over the mic to her, and let's start this discussion.
Hi, everybody. Welcome again on behalf of KECA and lovely people from Sapphire Connect who've gotten us together on this warm morning. I'm so glad all of us could make it here today. This is the second workshop that I'm moderating. So if I make some mistakes, forgive me, and definitely open to feedback on how we can do this better, because I believe as a moderator, I need to make sure that we all go with enough learnings, back today. I want to start with a note on human resources. We are all, leading HR in our own organizations, and I'm so happy that there are diverse people here today, because that's when we learn so much more. HR, I've seen success, for example, has many fathers, right? So when companies succeed, HR is a support function, right? We don't get the due credit usually because business takes it away. But when it comes to the company, transitioning to something new, suddenly HR is in the forefront and we are expected to do everything, right? But in a way, it's a great thing that finally HR is recognized as a business partner. There are a lot of expectations from us. It puts a lot of responsibility on our heads, but it's time that we came up and took on that responsibility. Today, I have so many stories of HR people leading businesses, from HR moving on to becoming CEOs. And that is the path we have to chart for ourselves. We can't be a function anymore, which is at the back bench. We have to be in the forefront and take on business mandates and support this transition wave, right? So I'm hoping today we can learn some of the good practices and take it forward. But before we start, it's something that I like to do is, as HR, we give away all the R&Rs. We appreciate everybody. Not many people patting us on the back. So can we quickly just, to the person on your right, give a pat on the back? Amazing job done.
I want more of it.
Okay, on that note, we're gonna take on. The reason we did this pre-meeting yesterday a little bit was to, give you an option to answer as CHROs, we can answer on any topic, of course, but I thought it'll be great to hear you on topic that you're passionate about or you have some experience on. So I'm going to try and do that, to pick on your passion and learn something from you. So like KK, one, thank you, in case I forget in the end, thank you on our behalf for coordinating this, managing our time and all of that. Pleasure to have met you. So like she said, the context, about the world is changing and how we can move on. I'm going to pick that thread, and we'll start with, last but not the least. So, Amla Avasthi, my first question would be to you. In this, whole trend of transitioning leaderships, how do you think the external factors, economic, global events, are influencing the trends in this transition? What are your thoughts on that? I'd like to hear from you, and then move on to Meenakshi as well, because you're both from different industries. Let's hear from you.
Working. Am I audible? Yes. Right, thank you. Very interesting topic, and I recall that I had nominated for two of them, and This is something which is, I think each one of us face it on a daily basis as how do we transition to the any external factors which impact our day-to-day living, day-to-day working completely. From the professional world, if I talk about, is internal things are something which we, all of us, are prepared about it. So we make a lot of no's, how's, steps to ensure that we come out of it easily. External is something which is not out of, within the control system, not within our hands. But somehow that's what we leaders are meant to be a little more resilient, be little more passionate, be patientful to ensure that what is coming, how much is that impact leading to the work that you are doing? Is that changing the world internally for you? Couple of things which we should be definitely hands-on is how technologies are changing. How would that help in terms of handling these situations? What are your, so when we talk about, we take that ownership completely, but how have we empowered the teams below to be as leaders, to ensure to take those calls and drive those things end to end? Listen to things carefully and then make a plan around it to fight out the deliverables that is coming in the day as an impact, whether it's work related, whether it is revenue related, or whether it is business related. The biggest is consumer. All of us have it. We have internal teams, those can be the consumers to us. We have external world wherein these are external consumers. And they keep evolving on a day-to-day basis. We need to be very careful and be at it in understanding as how the consumer behavior is changing. Adapt to those changing behaviors, step down the things, and then work accordingly. Today's world, if I talk about the entire industry or the world is moving towards AI. It's good to have it, definitely. There is a new learning, there are new opportunities which come up. But how much is that useful for you in your work culture is more something to do with you. Adaptability is something which all of us, we need to make it happen anyhow. Otherwise, it's going to be a challenging, and what you said as how are external factors going to impact. If we do not change, if we do not evolve, if we do not adapt to the newer things that are coming, it's going to be a challenge to all of us. But I think as leaders, we learn on a daily basis. We pick it up on a daily basis. We exchange ideas, thoughts onto what is going to be helpful. So I would recommend and I would suggest, and that's what is helping to me, is read what consumers are asking about. See what they are looking ahead for. And basis that, make those changes which will be helpful to both of us. So that's from my side.
Thank you, Amla. I think a lot of good insights. And I think we all are sensitive to what is happening in the external world. And I think I would call out probably 4 or 5 points what I feel really impacts organizations, their decisions on leadership changes as well. I think the first one I will call out is economic situations. I think we've seen when the economy is changing, when there's recession, you need organizations and leaders to really stabilize the business, look at financials, and continue to make organizations profitable. I think it's one of the biggest external factors which leads to a lot of changes. The second piece I would call out is geopolitical situations, which happens. We've all seen it. We've seen the Russia-Ukraine war. We are seeing the Middle State crisis already, what is happening. And now we are seeing the Red Sea, which is the latest one, which is really impacting the entire supply chain. And I think with that, there is a big impact on a lot of industries across what is happening. Then I would say is technology, what you were mentioning, Amla, as well on the AI. I think organizations really have to change and adapt and be agile to a lot of changes which are happening. A lot of organizations look for leadership and look for people who really have experience in implementation, transformation on the digital side. And the way things are moving, whether it's HR, whether it's operations, AI, the whole piece, taking it to the next level is coming more and more. I think that creates a big change. Then I would say there's a lot of local regulations which really impact the organizations and what kind of leadership we need to bring in. There are changes like what we've seen recently. If you recall, in December, India, there was a change on by the government side to really relook at the process of probably producing ethanol, right? So it's really it's given an impact on how the industry is going to move ahead. The second change, I think, is a big change, which again impacts a lot of us, is I come from a real estate industry, right? Anything which changes, government decided to be self-reliant, and a lot of our imports on the defense side actually has stalled. And we are looking at now exporting a lot of the stuff from India side. I think that is a big change. So a lot of regulations change big time on to what we are doing in different organizations. Last but not the least, I would say, is the socio-economic factors. A lot of things we are talking about today is DEI, diversity, inclusion, equality. You know, a lot of those things is something, again, changes for us. How do you start looking at when we talk about leaders, when we talk about getting talent into organization? It's all about, you know, how do you bring a diverse set up for the organization. And I think the biggest thing what we have learned after COVID is the ways of working in organizations. We have much more, I would say, spread out communities and employee spread. It is no longer a 9-to-5 job in office coming to work and really doing it. It's more how remote working actually can be implemented in different organizations. And all this has come because obviously we went through the COVID. We were not even 20% work from home before COVID times. And now actually look at it, a lot of companies are already struggling to bring people and actually putting in a lot of efforts and different things from a technology standpoint to ensure organizations and leaders are effective and continue to be effective in a different frame of working. So I think those are 5 points what I would say, how the external factors really impact the organizations and ways of working.
Thank you, Meenakshi, for that, and Amala. I think we've got a good handle now on, you know, what are the factors affecting us. In fact, in our deep of our mind, we always know them, but when you put them on the table, suddenly it's looking like a lot of things to do. So my next question then would be on how can leaders, you know, effectively manage these challenges? We know the challenges now. So how can the leaders, you know, effectively move these transitions? And if we can have some examples would be also great. So I'd invite Shaleen and Kavita to respond for this, please. Shaleen? Yeah.
So, good morning once again. Taking on this question, I would just like to mention first, look, leadership transition has gone through a big change because earlier when we used to see organization which was quite established, settled, have a very structured, comprehensive strategy around leadership transition. But if you could see the legacy organization, most of the calls, the big calls used to take by, like, say, promoters or the CEOs, right? And more goes towards the gut feeling. If you are looking for a leader, maybe from outside and internally organization, people say that the person is performing well, this is the right guy to take on the next team, next role, next business altogether. But there's a lot of hit and trial over there. But I would say, looking at the economical shift and a lot of global events that happens, the chances for having hits and misses, even the legacy organization and so-called promoter organization has also felt that it is not going to work out for them, because there is very thin margin for error for the organization to play around. Because one wrong call and you are behind the industry, behind your business models, and you may be out of the system and the industry altogether. So here comes the leadership transition, and that too a very comprehensive strategy that organization need to do, and then the HR plays a big role over there. Challenges, multi-challenges that are there, because there are two ways to have a leadership transition. One, obviously, when you have the position available, you have your own team or own internal talent to take on those roles, and if it is your succession planning inverted L is not there, then you may go out, step out and look for a talent. But it requires a whole lot of, I would say, in-depth study around looking the right talent to figure out who can really pitch into that role and do well. It's important that anybody now in any organization at that level needs to be successful. Without that, it is going to be very difficult for any organization to survive. Why? I'll tell you. The world has become very small. Imagine our teams all together, whereas they are not very connected on internet. Now a leadership team member who's been identified internally and externally, trust me, the person that is taking over that role, the entire team knows in and out about not only professionally, personally also how a person is moving around. And a wrong guy there, which means the CVs, everything is updated on net, and you might lose out the entire team altogether. So first and foremost challenge that HR needs to see that how culturally fit that individual is, in order to make sure that the person becomes the next level of growth engine for that team and for the organization. So HR needs to work a lot over there. Plus, there has to be a different strategy in terms of leadership transition if you're hiring an external resource for that matter, and internally. So I'll give you a quick example of why it is important. Look, when you are putting across your succession plan, your 9-box model, or I would say 4-quadrant model, if you see the person is internally available, how well you have made sure that the person is ready for that role. Do you have a structured program? Like we introduced a program called KYT, which is Know Your Talent. It all starts from a certain level where people fill up those talent form, talks about their career aspiration, mobility altogether. And then there is a set of people from India and obviously globally who assess that talent for senior leadership role and see how fit this person is for the current role and how the business is going to change next 3 years time, and the person will continue to be relevant. So once that KYT happens, that person goes for a bold program, which is building leadership for tomorrow. And that, until unless the person gets certified, and we work with some of the good names in India, and those guys who once certified, then only the person gets certified to take up the next level role. And similarly, we have formed a 9 leadership model competency, which we have kept it along with metal in our sourcing model, until unless persons as per the defined competency rules is 8 plus, we don't hire that person. So these are the two factors, making sure that the person that we are inducting in the organization or from elevating somebody is the closest right match, so that the margin for error is the lowest one. And similarly, also need to see how we are preparing for crisis management. Crisis, when I say wrong hiring, which means that how the team is going to need to be managed, the person that guy is replacing, if it is in the system, how the knowledge transfer is going to happen, how well the documents have been prepared, the person is ready. And similarly, the person is willing to really involve in continuous learning, empowering and all that. So on net, I would say the organization should definitely have a separate strategy in terms of taking on leadership transition when the person is being outside from hired from outside and internally. And there has to be a team which we call interim leaders who can take on this journey along with this new transition leaders to make sure that we set up the new leader for success. I think that's how my inputs around how we can deal with the challenges.
Thank you, Shalin. Kavita?
Yeah.
So I'll build on where you are leaving. Definitely agree that it's a long bet. It's a project which is an year, 2 or 2 years, definitely. Multitude of variables to the play to the first question, which makes the whole process of leadership transition very complex and challenging. Very complex, both all at the strategic, operational, and cultural level, and challenging because it's a massive change management, whether it's a new leader or it's a new role or a backfill position. So, in my view, definitely there are multiple proactive strategies which could be deployed. One, I think right from the design stage, it's important to get the organization design right. When we are creating a leader role, in the organization, the vision for that particular role should be at most clear and very well articulated time and again to the entire organization so that it drives the success of that role from the beginning. It's very important, and a lot of times, in my experience, we go wrong, at that stage. Um, so I think that's at the design. From the talent practice perspective, so many of them, we all know of succession planning. There has to be a solid talent review process wherein the second in line, talent is identified timely. While the practices are adopted by many organizations, there is, rarely seen the seriousness around the whole process, and it's very important to build the seriousness of the talent review process and the whole exercise of succession planning being taken very, very seriously, so that in the time when there is movement of leader happening, the second in line is, ready to, take on those positions. Other than that, obviously strong, robust, customized onboarding program, which is important. Knowledge transfer needs to be facilitated very well, up and close by the leadership. In addition to that, the stakeholder engagement, how the new leader is introduced to the customer or to the investors or to the employees or to the community partners, all of that becomes important. So some of those practices essentially, are important for leadership transition. The other aspect of that is the operational, which largely is to do with one, the risk management, because when a new leader comes in, it also lead to sometimes operational disruptions. And it's important that the contingency plans are in place. It's observed that there is resistance of change at a lot of times, which is a very normal phenomena, but you really need to have a plan to kind of arrest that timely. It's also seen that there are potential talent gaps which the new leader observes, and how we sort of help the leader navigate through that. And arresting all of this timely. The other part of is the cultural element of it. So how do you drive the cultural integration? Everyone comes with different leadership style, and I think this is a challenge everybody sort of would have experienced in their own experiences. How do you integrate the person into the DNA of the organization? And every organization is so unique, and that's the toughest one to navigate. So cultural integration is important. Also, not to ignore the emotional impact that a new leader creates in the whole ecosystem, and it's very important to demonstrate empathy, emotional intelligence. How do you help address the challenges and the issues on time, and providing required support to the team to make that role and that person successful. It's extremely important. Other than that, I feel the bottom line is communication. It's important to have a very open, transparent system wherein there is constant communication happening with the leader, providing mentorship, as and when required, and mentorship largely to do with sharing the context of a lot of scenarios timely to the new leader, so that there's lesser struggle both sides to make these roles successful. So I think largely, these are some of the practices that work if put to place at the right time, proactively, and seriously, driven the organization. And definitely HR, I sort of, go back to where, Kiran, you started. HR definitely plays a critical role there. And it's very important to have HR right on the, having a seat on the table, right from the time when these position gets created, why it is getting created, and what kind of potential conflict it may infuse in the ecosystem, and how do we arrest that, proactively, to building these, processes very up and close with business and driving the efficiency. And not to forget, it's important to empower the new leader in the ecosystem. And I think what I've realized is that empowerment is definitely important, but empowerment with governance is the trick, so you need to continuously evaluate how things are moving and adjusting as and when required. These are some of the some of the tricks probably to get a leader transition right. So that's my view.
Are we open for questions also?
He's sharing something.
Yeah. So adding on to what
Kavita said.
Can you hear me? So adding on to what what both of them have said, in fact, why I wanted to share this is because I closed close to 20 leadership positions in span of 2 years time, and in my previous organization. I think it is one most important thing is to understand the maturity level and the stage of the organization while you're hiring a leader, or maybe selecting a leader from within the organization itself. Because what happens is, even if your organization is matured or maybe a big organization, but probably the business for which you're hiring this leader could be a new business altogether. So somebody, when you're hiring somebody for a new business altogether, or the maturity level is low, then you need to see a different kind of a leader altogether. Like, for example, I mean, I belong to a logistics company. When my management says, okay, we would like to hire people from, maybe DP World, DHL, DB Shankar, Blue Dart and all, right? But they were not fitting into my organization. The reason being, I mean, that's the basic way in which we, all of us, think that, somebody coming from established organization to maybe an organization like ours would be a best fit for the company. But which is not the case. Reason being, we were actually, coming up with the new businesses. So we wanted somebody who has got that passion, the fire in the belly, passion to create a business from scratch. So somebody who is coming from a established organization which has seen, all the established processes, systems, policies, everything is already there, then probably he could be a good guy to take the organization from or to the next level from that place. But when you're trying to establish a new business from ground zero, then probably you need to look for different kind of competencies as such for these people. That's first one part of it, and I think that has really made a lot of difference for us, because when we've selected those people, they really we were able to really put it into we have given a lot of thrust to the entire organization. They were able to actually create the business from the scratch itself. Second part is, once you hire these people or deploy anybody for that matter on these positions, it's very important that you get the full support to those people. I being the HR of the company, I became the buddy for all these people for the first 3-4 months. For smallest of things to the largest, or to the any biggest thing which they wanted, I told them, you don't need to approach anyone, please come to me. Whatever you require, right from maybe maybe a board in your cabin or something else even. Right, I am the one whom you need to contact. See, it's very, very important to make them feel comfortable. You're hiring these people. You're hiring a guy who's going to create a business of 500 CR for you over a period of next 3 years. Now, if he gets indulged in small activities and doesn't get a resolution to it, immediately, probably he'll get frustrated. He will leave it as well. He may end up leaving as well, depending upon the culture of the company and the processes and systems you have in the organization. So it's very, very important to be a good buddy to those people, and in fact, educate their peers to actually support him or her, to the whatever extent possible. So these are two things which I really wanted to share.
It's a lovely insight. Thank you for sharing that. In fact, while I'm also the timekeeper, and looks like we have to be a little shorter in our answers, but the first ones take a little while, so that's okay. But on that, it's a very important insight. I'd like to share on the point that you raised on putting the right person in the right job. An excellent person may not fit in an X job because you're not right for it. You said it, but I'd like to share a real life example. I started my career with GE, which is like a world-renowned company, amazing company. I still think it's the best company I ever worked for. It was amazing. The processes, everything, clarity, empowerment. So so there was this story. I think it's publicly available. One of the leaders at GE America got a job with 3M. We know 3M Technologies, which does innovation, and all these sticky pads and all that we use. So an amazing player at GE, 20 years at GE, established leader, celebrated, top 100 minds, all of that. He joined, and this is a real story, he joined 3M as a CEO for Paris. And in 1 year, he was ousted from the company, like literally thrown out, because the whole company revolted. Because he tried to bring in processes and KRAs, KPIs in a company which believed in innovation to the largest extent, which means there was, in 3M, it seems people were given time to only think, do nothing. 20% of your time is to do nothing, just think. And you're trying to tell them every 3 months there'll be an appraisal, every 6 months you'll be assessed. They don't work like that, because innovation needs deep thinking, a lot of time, and the whole company had an issue with the way he was. So he was not wrong, but it didn't work in this organization, which needed a little more fluidity, a little more openness, less structure, because they thrived on that. So yeah, I think it's a very important point as HR for us, that it's never about a good person. It's about the best person fitting in our setup.
We don't hire people, we hire personalities who fits into the state of the company and the maturity level of the organization.
Absolutely. Okay, on that note, I'm going to jump actually into, sorry. Yes, please.
The curiosity is killing me. Well, that doesn't give me any rights, all right. All right, so Shaleen was talking about that you, during the phase of candidature of the executives, you measure the competency level, right? So it should be above 8.5. All right, fair. So how do we measure that?
Questions. So we flowed a questionnaire to them, and basis the competency that we like to gauge it, there are certain set of questions that are there, and the person, once they answer it, will get to know basis the range that we wanted to hire people from on various competency put together, what is the range that we are getting. And then we are doing weighted average. So every competency has a weightage basis the role that the person is picking up. And once the person scores more than 70% out of those weightages, then only we feel that this guy is good for that particular role. And it all depends on the role-wise role. Let's say I'll give you an example. The competency that we are going to really gauge it for a online marketing head would be different from an offline marketing head, because the skill set, mindset, the global perspective, industry perspective needs to be different. So maybe the competency, let's say one of the sub-competency is digital literacy. Right? For an offline guy, maybe the score is going to be less. But for an online marketing head, the digital literacy has to be more than 9. Because obviously the person has to add value to that. So that's how there are multiple ways to do that. And internally for the leadership role at least, and the second layer, we have all the competency defined. And it makes us easy for us to evaluate that sort of person, his percentage of being successful to that role. And it is really helping us, especially for the people that we are hiring, which is why I mentioned that we have different level of assessment for an internal leader and an external leader. Because internally, we have a very structured process of succession planning, which starts from talent review, which she said, followed by KYT, where global people assess talent. And then there is the BOLD program that we have, building leader. So only after that successful certification of BOLD, the person is eligible to take on that role. So it's working out well for us, and I'm sure if we would like to discuss it in the break, I can give more insight around that.
Thank you.
Okay, so we've established the challenges, we've established what leaders can do about it, but the biggest theory in the game is agility. So we know what we need to do, we know how to do it, we know when to do it, but if we are not fast enough, then we get left behind. So agility, and the new word for agility now is VUCA, in the sense the whole world is volatile, it's uncertain, and ambiguity. The most difficult thing to deal with is ambiguity. So in that world, I'm going to invite Renu to talk about how can we as leaders prepare ourselves. Sorry,
It's okay. Wow. I think I will not be speaking anything new. All our colleagues are actually speaking the same thing. Huh? So we are speaking here just the VUCA, but they were giving the examples of VUCA. It's not, I think VUCA was coined sometime in 1990s, and we are still undergoing the VUCA world. Every day we have ambiguous situation. Every day we have a complex situations. But I'm happy to hear from you that your leaders are undergoing certain competencies, basis which you define them as the successes for the leaders. Believe me, in today's scenario, the most complex thing is to adapt. Is really to adapt. And how? If you really do your self-awareness, I'm sure each one of you know about yourself. When you really do your self-awareness, you will really see that how ready we are to take forward the complex situations. We are serving to three main elements in any business. I'm just talking as a layman. It's our customer, what you were speaking about as a consumer. Second is an employee experience. And third, how are we serving to the society? All three things are linked, and we have really studied during the COVID times. But in these three aspects, when we keep in mind, it is impacting. The VUCA, when we speak about it, is impacting to three. My customer focus, how assimilated we are for our customers. How are we really fine-tuning ourselves to serve our customers, and how we are agile towards our actions, And this is where the foremost thing which we look from the leader is our competencies. Are we really ready for taking forward our complex situations? Are we really onboarding our team by really upskilling them and reskilling them, And in order to have those, are we really trusting our teams? Can you take your lead without having your team at the back of you? And that's where the competency comes, which says trust. In this VUCA word, we need to really, in this not VUCA word, ongoing VUCA word, we need to really bring the trust in the team, collaboration, when we are undergoing a complex situations, and all the more focusing on how are we serving back to the society. And I think this is very important to have in-depth analysis, and all the more the leader should have the good intuitions. You need to be very intuitive.
Thanks, Renu, for that. I think it's a wonderful word you brought in, intuitive. We'll talk about it a little later. In this world where we want to objectify everything and put a name to everything, I think intuition is, and HR people just have it. I think we are born with that. We should learn to maybe trust it more and use it more. So that's a wonderful
Just
word.
one more thing to add, we have seen that, whenever something comes up as a change, how good are we to embrace the change, or are we always at the mindset of resisting it? And this is where, not as a leader, I think as an organization, as a teams, we need to really bring those changes to embrace it and not to resist. Thank you.
So I'm going to invite, on that note, when you said embracing the change, I'm going to invite Sunanda and Shankari to talk about how can we embrace this change, and how can we foster a culture of agility at all the levels in the company. As leaders, of course, we do it, but how can we do it for the entire organization? So, Sunanda?
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Fostering a culture of agility in organization requires cultivating a mindset. And this mindset, as Renu has clearly said, it is for the customers and employees and the society. And when we are talking about the leadership, especially in this particular thing, leadership support is utmost important, because any executive, any employee can do any of the agile principles, work on that only when the tone of the organization is set by the leadership team, when they walk the talk, That is one. Second is the cross-functional teams. As you rightly said, we are the people who are implementing everything, but somebody else takes the credit, and that's true. Business is done by that. Now, I work for an organization which is into mobility, and I'm sure the person, Kamalji, she and the JLL lady would, understand that, because most of us, even they are providing the facilities to organization. JLL happens to be one of them, and Gensol, the Blue Smart. Now, what happens in the organization where the mobility is the concern, everyone is the first level entrepreneur who starts the organization. Now, they are the people who have worked ages in different organization, and they have started their own organization. So most of the time, the things stop at their thing. Now, one of the thing is, we often forget about the cross-functional teams. The people who have worked together from ages, they will always have an great say as compared to any of the new entrant that has come into the organization. So one thing that we can do is breaking down the silos so that everyone can, encourage the collaboration and communication among each other. And third thing, which rest of the things I'll leave it to Meenakshi, customer-centric focus. Most often when we are working, at least in our industry, somebody gets the sales, somebody is selling to the other person, the service is taken by X person, and the service is provided by a cab driver. Now, in case if that customer-centric approach is not there, then of course the entire thing spoils down. So I believe these are the 3 cents which I can talk about. Rest I leave it to Meenakshi. Thank you. Shankari. Sorry, Shankari.
Anyone else would like to add a little perspective, or I can move on?
I would like to add only 2 things more.
Sure,
One is continuous leadership, continuous learning, wherein we provide and promote the continuous learning culture. And I really appreciate that you have a competency matrix in place, but I'm not sure in a company like ours, in case of that competency matrix can work out. Second is adaptive leadership. As I've said, everything buck stops at the first level. So adaptive leadership is something that, they should be open for the change. Not only in the meeting rooms, it should be outside the meeting rooms also. These are the 2 cents that I can add.
A couple of things which I would like to add. Again, I'll come to the capability of the organization as such. I mean, the intellectual capability of the people will also decide, how much agile you can make, you can actually make your organization. And probably it will also help you to decide, okay, what sort of programs actually works for which sort of, what kind of workforce. When you talk about agility starts, because agile, you have to make the person who's working at the ground level more agile, not just the leaders as such, right? So you need to ensure, first of all, the assessment of organization is very important. What is the intellectual capability of my organization? Because a program which is applicable to maybe a company which has got low level of intellectual people versus to an IT organization versus some other organization wherein the maturity is high, not only of the organization but also of the people. Then accordingly, probably you need to design your programs and make them more agile. At low intellectual level, you need to educate more, tell them more. Everyone is resistant to change, right? Nobody would like to change themselves, and especially in a traditional organization, legacy organization, wherein people have been working for the past 15 years, 20 years, and suddenly you want them to change. Now, the way you actually design the entire process for the different set of people, I think, which is very, very important. I think that's where we need to focus on designing, because one size will not fit all. So customizing those programs so that it reaches to the at the last level itself, last mile itself, I think is very, very critical here.
Sure.
I think it's a very beautiful concept what he's speaking about. It also talks about the shareholder value. These days the shareholders are looking forward how agile are you if they really compare with your competitors. It's very important to have a very much uniform and standardization of the processes, be it globally and how agile are you in basically in giving back your service levels to them. And this is a very, very important concept that I think uniformity and the standardization of a process is very important, and that's where the transformation is taking the pace. And I think almost many of the organizations is undergoing this change, which is transformation, and this is coming from shareholder value. Thank you.
Yeah, wonderful point. Sure, you can.
I have run organizations at different levels, large teams, but all people dependent, right? All last mile delivery by highly skilled professionals, healthcare professionals mostly. And we've done multiple transformations now in the last 25 years that I've run these organizations. I think it all comes down to ownership at each level, right? How much can you create a sense of ownership at each level, and the sense of ownership of not just the organization but of the mission itself? And how can you connect purpose and mission to ownership for at each level becomes critical, because when you're running an organization with, I don't know, 1,000 clinical professionals that are doing, I don't know, 10,000 interactions a day, right? And at least in my business, and you can't control everything through process. And then you want to change the process, you want to transform the industry because technology is coming or AI is coming, and you've got to do it differently in 3 years' time, or record keeping is gone digital, or multiple things have happened, right? So if that last mile ownership is not there, because there's no connection to the mission and the purpose, you can sing process till cows come home, but nothing's going to change basically.
You're very right, and this is where the most important thing which plays a role is the communication.
Hmm.
How closely are you connected with your people? How are you onboarding them, telling them this is so important for the success of the entire organization? And I know for this aspect, when we're talking about communication, you have to also constantly take care of your employees, because they're the one who's driving it, you know. So, yeah, beautiful concepts. Thank you. No, I always spoke.
I think the room is already heating up. Can I request for the heater to be turned down? Yeah.
I would like to add just one point to
Yes,
what
Amla.
he said. Thank you. When you said about ownership, I think there is one thing which I keep that as a motto, and that's what I keep talking about in the teams when it is about driving anything. So I say, be in the skin. If you are not, then it's going to be really tough, because then the ownership is missing, agility is missing, promises are missing, and we are the ones who have to ensure that this is it. It is my thing. This is my organization, my work, my ownership. So be in the skin is something which puts you out there in the hardest of the task and to ensure the end delivery to it. So that's from me. Thank you.
Wonderful. I think great thoughts we are hearing. So I'll take on that note, what Renu said, and bringing in accountability, on the table, and how are we onboarding our teams. So with that, we move on to, how can we successfully onboard our CXOs. So I'm going to invite Pooja Kapoor and Aarti Chopra to talk about how organizations can tailor their onboarding strategies for CXO based on the unique demands of different industries.
Awesome. I think we've been having great experiences over here, sharing with each other. I think before I actually give the live example of how CXOs, or rather one of the CXOs we onboarded going through a tough challenge, stepping back, giving you a scenario of how OLX Group has evolved in the last 5 years. So it was a classifieds business and then went into convenient transactions. When I mean convenient transactions, it's going through last mile delivery, and then so involving a lot of angles of e-commerce into it, and largely in the car segment, which is a used car market. Wasn't easy because nobody had the expertise in the business. It was largely a classifieds ecosystem, so you had to really establish a new organization, build new leadership, get new folks in, and some were to transition from within the classifieds business into a transaction business, also because that's where you want to preserve the culture of the organization. That's one. You want to hone leadership differently. You want to give more people career opportunities. That did happen really well, but in the span of 4 years of this, saw 4 changes of CEOs. So that wasn't a great experience for people at large, and there's a lot to digest. There's a lot of pivoting to make every year or every 6 months. So the first CEO was someone who was also a very global CEO, very German, and everybody knew how to operate with that person. All the new folks were getting onboarded, lovely company, great culture, things are moving. And it is the beginning phase. So you can make several mistakes and failure is an option, so you continue to grow. And then, there's a Portugal kind of a CEO who comes on board and then quickly decides to move on because feels like there's greater pasture somewhere else, and could do, and was an inbound leader. There came a point where we said, okay, now let's make country level leaders because this is not striving as a global organization. So you got country level leaders. So imagine an HR person having to deal with some 11 country leaders and trying to sort of onboard them, settle them, give them a great experience, but a lot of autonomy at the same time because now you don't have anyone centrally to report to. And there came a point that this was unsustainable because you're in a global organization without governance. It is extremely difficult to operate as one, autos business, so to speak. So you then want to hire someone who can bring everything together, but you don't get that expertise in the market from an autos industry who can do used car segment at that scale. So you hire a great leader, and you say that the operational success will come with leaders who are there with them. But then there is a dynamic to deal with. So you onboarded someone, and we onboarded someone from the media industry. Now it's completely diagonally opposite. There's media industry and there's autos business, which is highly operational. Retail is detail, and the media industry is extremely creative, more empowering nature. So the leader came with a lot of empowering behavior, but empowerment with responsibility and governance. However, we had already infused autonomy in the business where you could take your own decisions at any point in time. So the conflict of the leadership becomes really high at that point in time. And so onboarding becomes a very, very critical angle. And that's where I wanted to come to the point with some build up and background. And in that stage, what we decided is that we can do all the basic things that we do for onboarding a leader. You navigate the leader, you give the leader support, you can become a buddy, you can do everything. And you also coach the leader at the same time. But internal coaching can only last up until a certain time because you're also reporting into that leader at the same time. So what I did, I had a personal conversation with the leader and we said, let's get you an external coach only for onboarding, not for your personal goals, not for your growth, but only for onboarding because even the global CEO was new. This person is new. The organization is different from their capability. So you got a personal coach for that person to get onboarded. And so we embarked on a journey where we had to bring leaders together. So we put quarterly nuggets with leaders and with the CEO, including personal coaching, to the extent that the trust level had to build up. And once that really started to happen, I personally got involved in the personal coaching sessions of the CEO. That dynamic really changed the game for onboarding. And I realized that had we not done that personal coaching angle, the onboarding would have still been a little stiff for the leader because there was a lot of feedback coming in. Stylized differences, empowering differences, governance differences. And so it's very, very important to understand at which stage is the leader coming. Like I think one of you said that, we're onboarding personalities. And when you're onboarding personalities, you either can rally the troops, or you can get the work done, or you can hone leaders. There are different styles of leadership. So to bring all of that together, I think it was very important to bring a coaching perspective to the angle, bring a little bit of calmness to the leadership style, and bring in an observation stage for at least 3 to 4 months before which you infuse change. And I think that healthy understanding came a little late. But it did come, and then it started to strive and started to grow, and therefore, it started to become like a 2 billion revenue sort of business. But it took around 6 to 9 months to get there. So I think as HR leaders, we also will have to be patient. And if you're sandwiched between a board and the CXO, then the biggest thing is to calm the board down and saying it will happen and it will take its time. And these are specific interventions, and these are the milestones, and these are the, also scores that you can show the person in terms of the change every quarter. And that's where, you can generate the return of investment if you want to come up with some different ideas. So I think onboarding would also be important, not only from a basic traditional angle, but also on what new age things we can bring to the table. Plus, we added an industry advisor for the person, who the person did not know. And we got someone as the MD of Nissan from the Latin America business who could help the person, because Latin America was an unknown business. So cultural diversity, bringing expertise on the product literally, and sort of driving coaching, despite being a great leader, I think it sort of worked.
I think it's a very good example and very detailed one, and I think a benchmark kind of thing, yeah. Because I'm just sharing the problem that we have faced in when we onboarded leaders, that there are leaders whom we onboarded, and in the frenzy of the first 3 months they wanted to do many things as if they are reinventing the wheel. Yeah, and it has happened with me when I saw two leadership changes, and we were all on our toes, because as if everything which was being run the day before was all crap, and and then there were so many SMT charters, senior management charters, that we were working around. We were just working around with new consultants, and everybody was running, and we all ran on a new treadmill, but I think there was not much of delivery. So I think it's very important, and I think the anxiety on the leader also is there. They have to do this. It's not that because he wanted to do it. I think there's a lot of lack of proper hand-holding, and a lot of performance anxiety, that you have to be seen as done something in the first 90 days.
I think I just wanted to, sorry.
How we are planning that person to be onboarded. If we require, we can take a help of external body, external person. We also need to sensitize the internal stakeholders, like internal HODs. So especially when a CEO is hired or replaced, so I have seen a replacement of a CEO, and if the old guard is not ready and not mentally ready to accept that person, whatever we do, it will be very difficult for that person to perform. Yeah, so that's why. So for HR, it is very important to align with internal stakeholders. It may take some time, even before onboarding starts. So unless you do that, even the board is ready, every MD is ready, everybody is ready, everybody is aligned, that person will not be able to perform and succeed.
It's extremely important to understand who can be your sounding board in the business. And so the CFO and I decided that we'll be the sounding board. You can give us as much shit as possible, or you can actually throw us out of the job. It's fine, but don't do it with the team. If you really want to do it, let's brainstorm and see what's the angle you want to bring to the table.
And one more thing, HR needs to be on toes to see that whether the person is coming on board or not. 6 months or 1 year, पता लग जाना चाहिए कि भैया this person is not our person. Take a decision.
No, but for that we need to really facilitate the feedbacks,
No, that's important. Because sometimes the person is not fit. What we do. So we should not linger on.
No,
but I'll just add here that there has to be an organizational support, that the way you say it, because if I'm joining a new organization and it is left to me, sorry, just a minute, if it's left to me to look for a coach, to knock the doors of the HR saying that I need something, then I am being seen as showing weakness. At times it is also perceived as that.
I just want to share, my experience, and one of the model which sort of worked. I've worked for many years in large MNCs like Amex, BT, etc. And then last couple of years into a startup ecosystem wherein there is lesser scope for experimentation. I try to get the right, at the first instance. So this whole dynamic of, what model sort of, works. One of the model which I had learned is that this combination of, you being the leader as strategic and your reportee as a strategic, that's a disaster. If as a leader you are strategic and your reportee is strategic, it leads to conflict. The best model rather is strategic, and then the second in line leader to be operational. That's the best one. And the opposite of that, the leader being operational and the reportee being strategic, that again leads to conflict. So some this model had sort of worked with us. So just wanted to share very quickly with this group. It boils down to many factors, but largely I think this is something which is being observed.
Yeah.
right hiring comes in.
Always. Aarti, Acha.
See again, replacing a CEO or hiring a new CEO altogether. Again, it's a different ball game altogether. Like, I have been through a cycle.
Guys, we'll have to be here.
I've been through a cycle wherein we have hired a CEO for the very first time in the history of the organization as such, right? So replacing is still easier because you know what is the expectations from the CEO, what is expected to do, what is how the vision is, he's going to be driving the vision. Now, when you're hiring a new CEO altogether, first of all, again, as you rightly mentioned, that you have to bring the entire management, on board as such to have that kind of a buy-in that you actually need a CEO. Now, especially in a legacy organization wherein the organization till date has been, has been run by the promoters of the company, then suddenly, somebody comes in and says, no, you need a CEO to drive the organization now, and why? Again, so then making them understand that why do you need a CEO to bring everything together, to stitch everything together, so that and somebody who's accountable to you. Now, I mean, you can't fall back on your children, and you can't just question them that why have you not been able to achieve these targets. So probably you have a CEO who can actually drive it, and more professionally as well, right? So then one, that of course you need to convince them, first thing. Secondly, once you are able to identify the right CEO as per the stage of the company, I'll keep on talking about it because I very, very strongly believe the stage of the company, majority level of the business, actually decides, that what sort of individual is fitting into the company. So as per the stage of the company, if you're able to hire that guy, then it's very important that probably I being the HR of the company, I need to ensure that his smooth integration, first of all, with the overall board and the management, which is very, very critical because these people needs to believe in him first. Then only probably he'll start getting that autonomy and then, a complete, empowerment as such to actually do things as per his own wishes and put the right process and systems in place. And then probably at the same time, educating the team down the line, because now suddenly the people who are reporting into the promoters, now they're supposed to report to the CEO. Again, it's a different ball game altogether, because the promoters were approachable till now, and now there is a layer in between, and who's a highly professional guy, again, and he has got his own way of working, process, system, blah, blah, blah. So again, I think we as an HR plays a very, very important role on both the ends. One is to educate and maybe advise the management, as well as they educate the people down the line, the L1s and L2s as well, and let them know the importance of this CEO. Why are we trying to bring this CEO? And this has to happen before hiring the CEO, not just at post hiring him. So I think it is very, very critical to make him successful in the company, because it's very, very important. These people should start trusting him, believing in him. Then only probably he can stay in the organization. Otherwise not.
Thank you for that. Okay, we can add, but I just want to remind us that there's no lunch here today, so we have to.
So 30 seconds to add what Mukul said. So when we onboarded a CFO, he had a 3 months of notice period. What we said is that takes 6 months, but what we'll do, the first 3 months we will have couple of hours every week with the current team, understand each other, take 3 months to understand each other, and if you feel comfortable, then resign and come to the organization. So that was a unique practice. We have never done that, but we did that, and that really worked, that the person spent 2 hours every Friday with the existing team, understand each other, find out if it's working out for not 3 months, 2.5 months, he said, it's fine, I should resign now. And it's like, your 3 months probation is not done, do not resign. So we worked for one such instance, it really worked out. Maybe that can work. Yes, absolutely, absolutely. We never talked about the numbers. We majorly talked about the concept, the approach, the problem solving meaning. So no data was exposed to the person.
Yeah. So from here, I'll just take it forward. Lot of emotions, because a lot of onboarding happened, failed, people got hurt, HR was put into picture.
We'll have to have one conversation. Let's hear Aarti, please.
So understanding that onboarding CXO is the greatest responsibility.
I request everybody, please, let's focus on Aarti.
I was saying that yes, a lot of emotions were shared because a lot of failures happened, and a lot of tips were taken from there to take it forward. And all of us know that CXO onboarding is the core responsibility, and it comes on HR and the key stakeholders of the company. And shame for the organization, of course, if it's failed and you have to rechange it within 6 months. So of course, all the employees looking at you that, our stakeholders, the senior stakeholders are taking the decisions and how this failure has happened. So of course, the onboarding happens, and we are very brutal. Loads of expectations from this role, and the way the person is treated so brutally by everybody is something very unfair. So I think, like Pooja said, onboarding has to be the ownership taken on the stakeholders. He fails, we fail. All the hard work is done by onboarding, the checks are done and everything. And of course, if the person is onboarded, the 6 months to 7 months, whatever is the defined period we have kept considering the business in mind, we need to put our hard work there. Now let me take through the process. Of course, silently, companies are following this process, but then we are not putting it to the paper. We are not making it structured to make it look like that this is the systematic process everybody will go through. Taking example of me, you, anybody, somebody coming from a different organization, coming understanding business, coming understanding the different stakeholders, I think this is the time given to the person. So let me just take you through the 5-6 steps which every organization is doing silently, but then how we can do little meaningfully. So first is, of course, within the 3 months time, we will be taking the feedbacks and survey from the immediate reportees. Employee surveys can be taken, and then stakeholders, and the combined feedback can be, even the CXO is supposed to share the feedback, how his experience was there. So that beyond that experience, we can take it and we can see his relationship is working with various stakeholders or not, firstly with employees or not, and integration with the organization happening or not. Let's not wait for 6-7 months to fail this entire process. So of course, if we have taken the feedback, this is one of the ways within the 3 months. Second is, we have to see how he's culturally fit. Probably he must be in some organization for a longer time, used to one of the ways to work in his favor. Now we have to see that has he integrated well with the company's value, and his conduct into the organization is reflecting the company's value, and people are accepting. Then of course, his engagement within the company with the people. And of course, this has to be equally measured. When I say, whenever you are putting and you are actually declaring people over a period and telling him to leave on these bases. So why they are not important for you to capture and see that where he needs that kind of hand-holding. So the second piece I was covering was engagement with the team and the people. So how do you of course, you do conduct the focus groups. You go to the stakeholders, take their feedback, how he is working well, what is his leadership style, is he going well, what is the employee morale when he has come and people are actually adjusted with his leadership style. Third, of course, the performance matrix. You have to put across certain set parameters wherein we'll be checking his performance also, and we'll be guiding him that it is going into the direction or not. And if it is not, of course, the timely feedback to him to change his style and to work in the same direction. So these are the few things organizations are already working on. And I think within 6 months, 7 months, if the rightly feedbacks are conveyed to him in the data form, I'm sure we all will see the improvement, and we will see the success in such kind of onboarding. Thank you. So
thank you for that, Aarti. I'm sorry, I'll have to cut that because we are a little short on time. We'll during coffee we can add on that. I'm going to bring in Aparjit and Neha to talk about the role of mentorship and peer support. I think some of the points we were discussing earlier, now are coming back to putting into KRS is important, but let's also see how the softer aspects can be brought in. So can I please invite both of you to talk about mentorship and peer support in a successful onboarding? Thanks. Shalin, we'll come back to you once I wrap up this topic.
Yeah, thanks, Kiran, for that. And I don't think I'm going to be probably saying anything new that this everybody in the room has already not said. Yes, onboarding is extremely important. Real life example, exactly what we are going through right now. We've onboarded 2 really important leaders in the organization, obviously handling sales and business right now. And we've realized, at least with the co-founders, since I have like 2 founders in the what we've realized is that, we were, especially the business leader, who he was actually replacing, right? We just wanted a complete opposite of that person. That's the person that we wanted to hire, and that's the biggest mistake that we did, in our hiring process. And I think our onboarding obviously broke down somewhere because of that, because it was a complete personality switch that we were looking for. The person who was replaced was extremely aggressive, would not listen to anyone, was extremely entitled. Right, and as a business leader, you can't be that. You have to kind of work with everyone, no matter who that person is, right? We found somebody who's calm. We found somebody who does not pick fights. We found, somebody who's completely risk averse. And especially in an organization like ours, we're an early stage startup, right? We're just 3 years into operations. Risk is one of the things that you have to continue to do, right? I'm like, because you don't grow till the time you don't take risk. I think that's one of the advantages of being in an early stage startup. And we're struggling with that. Today, 6 months down the line, we discuss as like, what do we do so that he doesn't continue to fail? What else do we do, right? And just to Pooja's point, in fact, I think that's one of the things that I'm actually going to take away is just get an external coach. Because I think internally, I think it's very, very important to also accept the fact that internally we have a certain bias also, right? We are looking for certain personalities, we are looking for certain traits that already people internally have already inbuilt that because you've spent a certain number of months, years in an organization, so you know. But somebody coming new does not know all of that, and just because of that biasness, we're not able to break through that ceiling, right? I think that's where I say that onboarding, not just from an internal peer group or the support from the leaders, but in everything, the external interaction is extremely important to be done. But yes, I think communication, I don't think I can like talk more about the communication. I think it's a regular communication, and it's not just about the leaders. To understand the DNA of the organization, it's actually the people who are executing what you're strategizing, what you're planning, because the people who are executing your plans are the closest to what's happening on the ground, right? And you need to be glued in. You take feedback from them, you work with them, you actually are on the ground with them. We expect our leaders to do it, but like Aarti also kind of said, that are we really talking about it, right? I think we are silently expecting that, but we necessarily don't tell our leaders that, is because we assume that they come with certain years of experience, so they should know about it, right? So, okay. So I think, Kiran, also keeping to your point, I'm going to keep it concise right now. So that's what I want to say. I don't want to repeat, everything that, the team has already kind of said here, but yes, I think that's where these are one of the things a few things that I feel are very important when it comes to onboarding too. Yeah.
Thank you. On to the next person. Who was that? Neha? Neeru. Sorry, Neeru.
I think the topic was around mentoring and peer support and how this kind of enables CXO. Of course, I'm a new leader. We'll give you a mic one second. Thank you. Yeah. In any kind of leadership transition to be successful, whether inside, somebody moving from inside or coming from outside, what's very important is understanding the lay of the land. And no amount of like formal onboarding can help as much as somebody at a peer level who's kind of help you in that process. And I'm talking about my experience as well. I just moved to another company. 2 years back, I moved to this tech product startup. Forget anyone else. I can share my own experience. And I had always worked with large IT services orgs, and this was a B2B SaaS startup, and with very little HR processes set up. But the company had, the best board one can have, and they had huge aspirations. And my first 90 days were totally enabled by the CFO. And how much I understood, the board, the business, the CEO played relatively lesser role than the CFO for me, but I realized that, that is exactly what as HR world or coaches enable for you, that mentoring support, or, you would call a buddy, at some time. It's very crucial. It's almost like a make or break at some times. And when you can really like have strong ambassadors within the company at C levels and exec levels, enabling that, like in Pooja's case also, this new COE, who was his first team, who was the first team he could go to, and really like, understand what does success mean in this
global world with, you know, so much org structure changes that have already happened. So I think that kind of the role of a mentor, internal mentor or a peer becomes very crucial. And as HR, we can't really, if you're onboarding like, I don't know, I mean, given the scale, 5 leaders, 4 leaders, 3 leaders at a time, how much can you be that person? You know, so how do you create that capability within the organization that leaders can be mentored and peered? And there could be a peer coaching, not peered. It can be, you know, today we've got a failure rate of almost 50% people not meeting, you know, leaving the org within the first year. It could really be better for your respective org. So yeah.
Now we'll get to the heart of the program today, actually, technology. You know, that is something that we can't avoid today. And as HR people, it's very important that we ride this wave and are, you know, into it. So for the first question, I'm going to invite Mukul and Renu to talk about this. How is technology significantly impacting the way leaders are communicating, collaborating, and making decisions today? So Renu, will go with you first.
There are two Renus here. Yeah, so I'll just speak about on this topic, and just to have, I think we are going for a very longish conversation. Let me just pick maybe 4 points, you know, straight away around technology, which I see as outlook from my side. One is that, you know, external communication, I think for leaders has changed a lot in the last, say, 5 years. Now there are leaders who would announce even their strategy, their plan, their process, their movements on LinkedIn or social media. So social media has kind of, you know, become very much, you know, an inside part of the organization, which adds to a new flavor from the leadership communication point of view. Second thing is about internal communication with the new collaborative tools that we have, particularly post-COVID. And then we have this hybrid organization still continuing. And so you have a workforce which is like working from anywhere, working from home, working from office, remote and so on. How does the leader do a connect, which becomes a big challenge? And I think it's not an easy thing to be a leader, particularly people leader. And being an HR person, I think I can say that that, you know, perception is reality, and you are a very different person for different people. So in the old days, even pre-COVID, 4 years back, you would just do 4 or 5 on-site travel and you would come back that I know a lot about the organization. But now you can't do that because you have to segment the organization in various ways. Third thing I would say is that about the culture. I think you spoke about the culture piece very with a very good example of the G person, the G leader who failed in the new organization, 3M, both great organizations. So I think the culture piece is so important, and there is a dilemma, you know, should we have internal leaders, you know, because they know the culture of the organization, or should we hire from outside? And even I would say when we hire from inside, and I have seen that story and I've been a very strong votary of it. That's the reason our leadership development program has focused a lot on building internal leaders. But I have found that unless they change their position in the organization, because even though they know culture, they have seen culture from a different orbit. Now they are in a higher orbit. Unless they do their fast repositioning, they also equally fail. So while Kshitij did say in the beginning, Kshitij said that, you know, he used the word in the Maslow's hierarchy leaders at the top. I would still counter that, you know. I have seen leaders doing very, you know, being very political, doing very transactional thing. So it's important, I think, to build a very strong people leaders who are considerate, who are really inclusive in nature, and who would like to give constructive feedback on your face and not on your back. And leaders play such an important role to build culture in the organization. So while your topic was around tech, I would say with the new tech, you know, using tech as a spine of the organization, how we build culture in the organization. This is a challenge and which we are all working on it.
Hello. Yeah. So building on what Renu said, so technology, of course, any which ways, it's playing a very, very important role, especially, bringing everybody together now, which was not the case earlier, irrespective of the size of the organization. I mean, be it, 1,000, 5,000, maybe 1 lakh, 80,000, whatever, and irrespective of the geographies wherever you are working in. It brings everybody together, even though the CEO, the CXOs, the leaders are sitting in different places, but still they can actually communicate, they can collaborate, create a cohesive environment, within the team itself. So a couple of things which you would really mentioned, of course, I mean, there are internal communicate. There are tools through which you can communicate with the teams internally, externally, both ways, right? You can conduct the even the town halls. There was a time when people used to say, what is happening in the corporate office, we are not even aware at the at the ground level in different branches in different offices, right? So decisions are being taken at the corporate level. What was the thought process behind it? We are not aware. We have just been asked to implement it at the at the ground level itself. Now, having said that, now the time has changed. Now the leaders are coming up. They're conducting these these sessions, taking up these online sessions, virtual sessions, even in town halls. They're talking about the organization, talking about where exactly we are, where we want to go, which was not possible earlier. So it brings in more transparency within the company. It creates a level of engagement and confidence amongst the people. Even if you're going through a right phase or a wrong phase or whatever phase, right, you can talk about it. So once a leader talks about it, of course, it creates a lot of it builds confidence in the organization itself. Right or wrong, or maybe positive or negative, it's a separate story altogether. Second is in terms of the analytics. Now everywhere you see the data. Data is available everywhere, but probably we were not able to use that data effectively. We were only using the maybe PowerPoint and especially the Excels as such, right? But how were you able to use that Excels effectively? We were not able to. Now there are so many tools which are available, in the market. We have been using those tools to actually analyze and create those analytics, and basis that analytics, it has actually helped us in taking the right decisions, which was not there earlier. Of course, it was 60-70% confidence, maybe experience, and then probably hit and trial. But now I think the decision making at the top, or maybe at any level for that matter, has become much more accurate as compared to what it used to be earlier. Third is the medical aspect of it. I mean, earlier again, when we talking about when we wanted to do anything for the employees in terms of taking care of their wellness, right, employee wellness, I mean, we were just limited to providing them the medical insurance. But now the organization like MediBuddy and couple of other companies, we can provide them online consultations, right? People can we have bought those packages. People can go online and seek the consultations for free, which is a very it's a very, very big thing in an organization like ours, right? So I think that ways technology has really helped us in creating more engaged workforce, right? The engagement level has gone up, the burnout level has come down. Even we conducted these POSH sessions online, which was again awareness sessions, but very, very important from the compliance perspective and otherwise as well, right? That people should be aware how to deal with what is POSH all about, and how does it really impact us as such. Similarly, there are so many knowledge sharing things which we wanted to share with people. We wanted to maybe let our employees know, but we were not able to do it. But now I think because of this sharing of knowledge and whatever you want to communicate, because of the increased communications, I think engagement level has gone up. So similarly, I think the attrition will also go down, right? And communication is much more transparent and effective.
Thank you so much for that summing up. I think technology can do a lot of things for us. We've heard now, the things that can happen, but there's always a yin to a yang. So one of these recent weeks, my boss asked me, Kiran, there's so much AI happening. Can you reduce your headcount? So bringing in the other aspect of technology, how can we use technology at the same time, human-centric leadership? How can we sort of, manage both those things? It's a difficult question. I'm giving it to Anshuman and Praveen.
I like the topic because we recently did that. So our president and the owner sat through the last quarter and decided that we will do 3 projects focused to HR, because they feel that we have most of the time in the world. And the target was to use AI or the best of the technology and do not bring it into the live production, just come up with the idea and the concept, and then we will see. Um, one was for talent acquisition, one was for employee advocacy. The good part was that to be honest, I was not very familiar with Chat GPT and AIs, but because it was a project that was driven from there, I was able to learn Chat GPT. I can now program into Chat GPT. So that's a culture that they are imbibing into us at our level, and then it's going beyond as well. It is useful because in one aspect I see that I can achieve a lot of things using these technologies while not reducing my headcount as well, because what I'm doing, I'm enabling my recruitment team with that 20% of the time to do what he or she can do better in his or her space, while cutting down the things that can be automated. A very short example, resume parsing. One at a time, Naukri portal may or may not be API connected to your CRM. So your recruiter is finding profiles, parsing it to your CRM. I am using a bot as of now, which is doing 80% of this task automatically. So my recruiter only has to post a job, and he can go to the CRM and he can find approximately 30% suitable candidate directly. I am not reducing my headcount of the recruitment there. I am enabling them that you do not have to do this clerical stuff of finding resume, assessing. That part is done by the bot. Now you have to get into the next level where you will spend more time meeting the candidate, finding the right talent for the organization. So one of the way that I see the technology and AI is really helping us without compromising on the headcount, people, or the morale of our team, that, oh, if AI comes, oh, who is going to lose the job? Am I the one in the C players category that I should be worried about? No, you do not have to. What you can do is get onto it. If you are a C player from your current stack rank, maybe you learn AI and you become the A player for the organization. So that has really helped in the recent past.
Okay, in that case, we will move on. Thank you for that, wonderful live example. You came in just in time, Dr. Malik, and I sort of just, was noticing that board, and I realized that, I think these are the two most important things happening in our lives today: technology and mental health. If we sort of, take care of those two, we are kind of sorted. Our own mental health, of course, but more than that, the mental health of people who are dealing with so much as organizations. We keep seeing new cases every day, about that lady we've seen, without getting into that, but how mental health is affecting our lives, personal lives, professional lives, and how technology is now just revolutionizing everything that we do. So it's interesting, to Sapphire, I don't know, you got two very good sponsors, because those are the two most important things happening today. So on that note, Dr. Malik, I'm going to ask you that question. In what ways can our leaders ensure that diversity and inclusion are integrated in the decision-making process? Because that's when, a lot of softer aspects, like focus on mental health, etc., will come in organizations.
It's been a journey. Thank you for the question. It's been a journey over the last 20 years of working in organizations where it was lip service. Right, I worked in London for a very long time, and a lot of lip service to diversity in the 2000s at least, right? And that's what I saw, and then now where it's just become part of the DNA. I think that's the journey that I've been on, and I think if this group, I don't need to preach the value of diversity, because I think that's pretty much there. But how do you build it in a DNA becomes very, very important, right? How do you have a lot of conversations today about CXO hiring? All refer to the CXO as him, right? In this room itself, right? How do you change a DNA of the language you speak as a leader, as a starting point, saying, okay, I mean, we are a 75% female organization. We are diversity inclusive and disability inclusive. So we actively hire people with history of mental illness to work in the organization because we think they bring the most empathy towards clients later. And so, how do you then build it as part of your process, but start with the language itself, right? How do you build it as cultural sensitivity and language itself becomes very, very key from a leadership perspective. And then how do you walk the talk, right? How do you actually enable hiring for somebody, for example, who might be the best candidate, but you're worried about some difference, right? Some difference, right? So how do you enable conversations around sexuality in the workplace and gender at the workplace? How do you make sure that people, like, had this, we think we're very gender inclusive, but we did post training for the first time, and somebody in the team who's bisexual and actually openly bisexual just talked about saying, what about my group? Like how we address, and we hadn't addressed it. So how do you actually think about different groups when you implement different policies, right? And actively practicing. That's not easy, right? Because the number of diverse groups have increased significantly in the last 10 years, and how do you keep pace with that? It really becomes a DNA question than a policy question in some ways. If you're always thinking about it, you still get it wrong sometimes. But if you're constantly thinking about the business value of that, becomes an easy conversation altogether, right? I mean, we know that diverse boards make better decisions. We know that diverse organizations have wider customer reach. We know all of this stuff, right? But how much of that do we keep in mind when we go out to hire? How much do we actually design for a diverse board or diverse leadership team when we actually hire? Do we bring enough inclusivity from a gender is the obvious one, but also sort of sexuality perspective or disability perspective within the organization? I think it's very hard to do, but the value out of that when you do it is exponential. So, I mean, I'm happy to give specific examples around it, but I think that's the broad thing I want to say.
So I'd like you to continue and talk a little bit about succession planning and talent development also in the same context, because I think you wanted to talk about it. It's something that you've done before, I'm guessing. So I'll invite you to continue and talk about that.
That there are better people in the room to talk about, and Mukul talked about it very, very eloquently in terms of bringing new people in years in. But for us, it really becomes about the fit itself, right? It really becomes about, and I think I resonated with that a lot with that, is to what stage. I've worked in large 40,000 people organizations, and I've worked in, I ran a startup with 7 people who started, and now we're much larger now. But so how do you think about the stage of the organization and the cultural and personality fit for sure, but also the skill fit for that stage, right? And so, for example, I mean, where I'm sitting today, I don't want to be running the organization in 5 years. Right? I want somebody else to run it. Are we thinking about that now? That 5 years down the line, I've got at least 2 or 3 people in mind who could take on from running the organization, right? And I've seen people do this really well. In fact, some of the big family offices we work with. So whether it's the Godrej's of the world or the Piramas of the world have really had thought about it, have had really evolved conversations, made it skill-based rather than sort of nomenclature-based, and really driven that culture around saying, this is an active task, right, that we'll think about. And frankly, with a large organization, you have to go back 5 years at least to start thinking about going forward, right? So that's the first thing I'd say. And then there are competing interests. That what our experience has been, there are competing interests when you start having those conversations. Yeah. And how do you keep shareholder value at the core of what you're doing as a next stage transition becomes a key question, where you have to put all those interests in the context of shareholder value and creating shareholder value essentially. I think, and that's hard because you have legacy interests in the company that have been there for decades, and they have a strong voice, but you know that that's not the best utilization shareholder value. And Marico did it really well, right? Marico did it really well when they sort of picked a leader that wasn't from the family in the first place, yes, and then transitioned them in that way. So I think that's the broad insight, but happy to hear other thoughts.
Sure. So I'd like to add a little bit of personal experience there from, we've been doing succession planning for long in our company. We have good formats for it. We have, whole structures for it. But, personal failure, I have to say, and acknowledge on the table, and maybe, people can learn from my, where I failed. So we have amazing formats. We do twice a year outside office exercises. I take everybody and we plot people on the 9 box and, succession planning very strongly. We do everything, red, amber, green, all of that. And then we identify people who can be successors, and we also say what are the gaps they have and how we can improve them. Now, one place where I failed completely is we identified the gaps, but we didn't strongly do enough to take care of those gaps. So year 1 I have people I've identified, I have these successors, and okay, these are the gaps they have and they can be ready soon, but if I plug those gaps, next year somebody left but the person still has the same gap because we didn't do enough to plug that gap. Of course there are challenges that you have because किसी का gap है कि I know this job well, but I don't know that job well. But in the middle of the year, it's difficult. Nobody releases their people to do something else. We don't release our good people to learn something new. So what happens is our people are good at the same job, but diversity they don't understand. They don't understand business. A lot of people don't understand finance. So we don't release our good people for long-term trainings or training them in other functions. So what happens is you have identified people who are 80% there, but they never become 100% because we've not invested in them. So that's something that I personally failed at, and I'd like to say how difficult. And then you finally end up getting somebody from outside, and then you have a pissed off person because he was 80% there, but we didn't make him ready enough. So that's something I wanted to. We have to take tough decisions and force people to drop the whatever they're doing now and train themselves for other things so that they're ready for bigger roles. That's one piece that HR has to strongly work on, I believe.
Even employee has to work on themselves.
Correct, I agree. Yeah.
I have seen people who are, at least in our fraternity, I've never seen them in the round tables or any of the events because they're doing what they're doing. So how do you expect an organization to go and take a lead that yes, these people can be a better asset for the organization?
I agree. It's personal accountability as well. Yeah.
What happens? Unlike the various Western verticals we look at it, I think still here we have not developed the mindset of people that going in the same vertical is not really.
Yes, absolutely.
Is not, because in our organization where I work, we have an HR head who's come from a logistics function and heading the HR. We have people who are working as a production engineer. They're the CEOs of the company.
We are crazy about vertical growth. We only want to grow vertically. We don't want to do horizontal.
So debunk that.
One
is the culture of the country.
It's in the country, yes.
And let them experiment.
Because every 3 years, Sharmaji's son is getting promoted. And what are you doing? There is this, so this pressure everywhere. Yeah.
But when we make these people move out of the country, other countries are not being receptive because they're saying they just go into the
same vertical. Yeah, don't know.
Here probably, you may have not created the IDPs for these people. That's one part of it. Second is, I think the communication on what is in it for them is very important.
Yeah.
Because that's where most of us actually fail, that, we are not able to communicate what is in it for you. Why should you go about, doing undergo this training program as such, right?
Absolutely.
How it's going to help you in growing or maybe, shaping your future for, shaping your career for
the
future
whiff
growth.
has to be strong. What's in it for me?
Yes.
And to your question, I did create IDPs, but I didn't follow up strongly enough ki ye karna hai. IDP on document is there, but didn't follow it through that, it has to be done. So that's something that we have to.
One of the practice which.
It's the individual,
you might have 20 who say, listen, I want
interested.
Yeah, but there are 80 who are sitting on it because they're sitting on it.
Yeah, so they don't do it. See,
rather than I taking the
responsibility for my own growth. Yes.
because if I take the responsibility of my own growth, if I understand what is in for me, I'll push for it. Irrespective of whatever my manager says, because I'm inclined for it, probably I'll take all the possible steps to ensure that I get into that kind of a training program and build, upgrade myself.
Just quick suggestion, one of the practice that organizations adopt on, this particular issue is to add that to a leader KRA, that, you need to mandatorily have a, successor.
Add a percentage to your.
That's the only way to drive and mandate it.
The weightage is so low for such initiatives that they tend to ignore it as well at times, especially the salespeople.
I just want to share a practical thing. What we have implemented out there in Blackberries is specifically for the L1s and L2s who are into the leadership roles, is precisely right that we made 10% as a mandatory KPI, that you need to learn, enable something new so that you can move up, pick up to the next level and role. So that's important. Until unless you bring it to them, to their table, they will definitely be in their comfort zones. We need to identify and pull them up completely and help them and support them from all the sides. So it's the organization which should really play a pivotal role for these identifiers that we have picked it up.
So even though in our case, what happened is we also kept it as a part of the KRA, and the weightage was 10% only. However, for a manager to get promotion, for his manager to get promotion, it was the mandatory thing. Unless and until you secure this 10%, it's a qualifier. It's a qualifier. It's an eligibility criteria for you to go to the next level. Otherwise, you won't be able to go to the next level.
I just want to make one quick point. It won't take much time, but I personally feel that it is a maturity of an organization to kind of first push it through rather than the employees in the HR struggling and pulling their hair to kind of put this practice in place. And other than that, I think more from the fact that Fair Portal itself does it, that it is a mandatory. After 3 years, you have to pick up a new role. Have to pick up a new role to get it's a project that you have to pick up and then eventually that you have to move to a different role. We have created job families in which you can easily move in and move out, because if an organization, personally if you ask me, if I am a owner of an organization, somebody is earning so well for me, I would definitely want him to keep earning for me rather than moving into a different direction. So it's more of a organization maturity at the end of the day.
Moving on to the last segment now, and then we can earn our tea out there. A very, very important topic, and coming into huge significance right now is corporate governance and ethical leadership. So I'm going to ask Meenakshi, who I think is a veteran in HR now. So I'm going to ask you to, talk on two topics, Meenakshi. One was diversity, because, I remember you've been in the same company for like 2 decades now. So how have you seen the growth of diversity, and how do you see the, coming up in the last few years of corporate governance?
Thank you, Kiran. Actually, the topic, the last one you picked for me, probably, while talking. So I've been with EDAC for 20 years, and this is my 6th boss in, most of the time company decides to send the managing director from Germany, and they come with a mindset of, Indian directors having like a culture of maybe puppet saying yes to everything, and you have to deal a lot with the mindset. I heard a lot on onboarding, but at the same time, my experiences, because from the same company I was 7 years in Detroit office, and I saw the managing director fell down and went to coma, and they made next vice president the president of the company, who was a sales guy. And here recently I also got a managing director who was a sales guy in Germany and then was managing director of India. So when these sales guys are promoted to these managing director roles, we have to be extra cautious. This is what is my learning, because the guy in US sold a lot. He was so good in selling. He sold a lot on behalf of company to the customer on the customer side. So we made quite a few losses there. And here we had the managing director who sold dreams to the employees. So when it came to ethical actions and integrity, and we had to take action, all the employees still come to me and say, what happened to Clemens? He was such a, managing director who he was the only one thinking about us, wanted to give us chair of like 2,000 euros and best of the best office and so on. So I feel it is not only we are onboarding the CXOs, we also have to prepare our employees for what kind of CXO we are getting. We are saying, okay, we will need this much time, but first, when we are building the trust in the team, we have to first build the trust in that person and then go forward. Because after this action, I got a call from HR department in Germany, and they said, Meenakshi, you're in the company for so long. Did you know any, integrity issues going on? And I said, you would not ask me a question. I would ask you a question. Why the hell you recruit all these kind of managing directors for me? And how do you do it? So I feel, somewhere it is not only how we deal it at our location, but how they do it at their location. We have to also show mirror back to them, and also to people who come here, and instead of saying yes sir, you have to put your foot down and say this is not acceptable. So when this inquiry happened after reporting, and Germany was asking the question, the first question they asked, what were you two directors doing when all of this was happening? So thankfully we had all kind of communication in written. We used to, of course, had lot of verbal communication like this, but we also had lot of written communication saying, hey Clemens, we do not align with you on the cost for this new office. We are not, comfortable about it. We do not have a written permission from shareholders or whatever. So all these things helped us to, save the company. It is again about ownership. I mean, I was having a wonderful life. Every meeting used to be at Imperial and Shangri-La and nothing less than that. But you have to think about 250 employees who you have hired, who have to pay the fees, who have to pay the rentals if you don't have to. So thinking about that, I feel that it is also very important when a CXO is hired, first HR or the first leadership team takes time to build the trust on him. I mean, everything cannot go right at the hiring itself. Second, about diversity, as Doctor said about DNA, I think it is all work in progress. Today we deal with gender, tomorrow we deal with generation diversity. Today the biggest challenge we face at the workplace is the generation diversity. So we have to really bring in the different perspective by seeking the opinion of the employees for hiring, for giving opportunities, for succession planning, and so on. But most important is to lead by example. These are the two examples which went bad, but in diversity, we have an excellent example where they hired the managing director of EDAG Spain, who was pregnant when she was hired. And all because everything else fitted in, and there was not, like he was mentioning, what is the difference we want to deal with. So that is an example where, leadership actively modeled the inclusive behavior to bring in the positive aspect in the organization. So it's not all bad. You have to also talk about the achievements. You have to do the inclusive events. You have to implement and policies which promote equality, all of it, but it is all work in progress. Nothing can be really achieved as done in this. So it's this is what is my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Meenakshi. I'm going to ask now Shivani and Gayatri to talk about ethical considerations that they make in their decision-making process.
Thank you. Well, leadership and ethical leadership as in a concept, I think, has a huge gap in industry, and this needs to be abridged. When it is about ethical leadership, I think the concept is to each one. I think there are no rights and wrongs to this particular concept. The first question which comes to my mind is, what is the culture of an organization? Is it that you want a decisive, commanding person, or do you want a flawless execution, or do you want a motivation or a respect? So at the end of the day, it is a reflection of the leadership which talks about the organization. And in an era of Gen AI, I think we can write lectures, wrapping it up in our English language, and say many things about ownership, compassion, compatibility, integrity, so on and so forth. For me, I think these are the real-term examples. We need to look around. We need to see people, how they execute these values and beliefs. To start with, I think one needs to ask the question to themselves: what is the core of their personality? Which are the boundaries they don't want to cross? Where do they want to be or see themselves as a leader after a certain period of time? And at all you're stuck up in a difficult decision situation, you need to go back to those values and be more committed to the ethical leadership style of your own. So personally speaking, I think to start with, when we are talking about integrity, I can just go back to an example of Lal Bahadur Shastri when he was a railway minister, and there was an accident wherein 140 lives were compromised. I just heard this article. I mean, I was looking at few of the reels that Instagram people keep watching, and I am one of those who keep watching certain things. And therein, Nehruji said that, I don't blame you for the accident happened, but in a constitutional propriety, this will set the example, and that is how it should be. I think one needs to take ownership of it is integrity, it is a moral duty of the person to kind of take the ownership of that whole situation. When we are talking about ownership, I think US Navy SEALs are the best example. Aaj main bullet bhar rahi hu, and I am the one who's shooting, and somebody is actually putting the bullet. That's a duty that we all falter when we, as a leader, we don't take the ownership of the style, take the ownership of the decision that we have taken. One wrong instruction may lead to disasters. So certain things have to be kept in mind. Personalized, individualized decision making, compassion. When we are terminating, we are lowering the head count. And during a COVID time, I think we all did. I hate this to do, but apparently we did. And we need to be very, very compassionate, empathize with the situation. The leaders who kind of take such drastic decision were, I think, during a COVID time, were pressurized because there was a huge cost cutting coming into the picture. But at the same time, they were also trying to balance it out because there are people who have to make payments and have a livelihood which has just been generated by the earnings that they have. To wrap it up, I would not take much time. I think it is to each one, though there are no right and wrongs to ethical leadership, but at the end of the day, your logical, ethical decisions make huge difference to the people who are working with you, remember you forever, and make the overall environment very conducive for them. Thank you. Absolutely.
Hi everyone. So in continuation what she said, like I feel that leaders should be empathetic. I mean, like they should take the decision making, I mean, by considering all the facts, and they should see how these decisions are going to be taken care by the stakeholders. And probably the HR, I feel, is a bridge between the employee and the leadership, and we are the face probably that how we recognize people and how we show and we showcase the leadership team to the people. So I'll not take much time because we have already discussed many things. But point is that obviously leaders made by the examples. So what I see as a DP old only, I talk about my organization, my MD sitting in Dubai or wherever he is, whenever coming to office, meeting to people, going to the seats and shaking the hands with the people at the down level also. So this brings the culture actually, because these we feel like leaders are always on top, like Mukul said, ki they are not reachable, they are conducting the town halls, and that's okay, that everything is there. But once we go for the physical reach out of the people, and when he comes and say hello, so this becomes a actual impact to the people. And the other point is ki whenever there is a need for the employee and leaders are there. So that is the main thing, because that is the trust and bonding we are looking for as an employee, because this is something where HR plays a vital role. We have seen during the COVID time also, like there were so many cases, it's in a big organization, there were some cases of disease employees also, and the HR came into the place and come up with the leaders, with the policies, what we can provide to the disease families in terms of education, in terms of medical, and so far we are continuing with that. So this is something that is giving a moral support to the family, and people are bonded towards it, because irrespective of the fact, whatever the salary structure they are getting at different levels, because there are old people, they may be at a junior level, I mean on the lower side also, and people are coming with a new salary structure. There are a lot of comparison coming into place, but still people are bonded because of this reason. Company is giving, company is thinking a lot of this. I will just give a live example during I should say ki maybe the term insurance and a lot many things are already there in place, but at one point in time that policy expired one day before the person died, and company came up with the thing that we will bear all the expenses whatever was there, because it is a part of policy and it was due to some fault it was not renewed. So something, it's a value of crores, but company is ready to pay for that. So this is bonding the people. So this is how we are making the relationship and trust for the leaders. And this is obviously, it's very important in this point in time where we see lot of attrition taking place. People are not because of this volatile market, people are getting a lot of opportunity also. We are not able to retain good talent. So obviously this diversity and this inclusion is a better place, and I think the leader should be working on the facts, not on the biased opinion. That's the important thing. And I feel ki the HR has a great role to play under this, because this is something there where we connect our leaders to our people, and this is how we are trying to build a culture between the, I mean, among the organization, that we should grow exponentially across all levels. So that is my take for that.
The last question, I would invite Asim and Robin. What is the best way to face ethical challenges and navigate them? And importantly, how can we build a positive corporate culture and protect the company's reputation?
Can you come again with the question, please?
Yeah, so what is the best way to face ethical challenges and successfully navigate them and build a conducive, positive corporate culture?
Thank you so much. I really identify with this topic because in my last more than 20 years of experience, I can see this dilemma in stakeholders, especially C-suite stakeholders, top management, promoters, CEOs, especially while taking decisions, especially when the company is into transition or a tough phase, be it a recession, be it a slowdown or COVID. These dilemmas are there where a leader is put to the test to take a decision. With that decision, is it in line with the values or culture, or is in line with the business priorities? That's very tough. Many a times I have seen it. In fact, most of the time I have seen that decision goes to the second quadrant, and the culture has been, sometimes it is compromised. So I can see two different aspects to this. One, that a company or a leader, especially I'm talking about promoters, that promoter wants to be seen doing right things, wants to be seen governing right by employees, society, or the customer, or he is doing right, governing right, or living the values he aspires to do. So I see most of the organization, they want to be seen, and HR does that job. All the values, culture, they want to be seen that we are a right company. They want to be seen, they are not. And that is only be seen when the situation comes, toughest situation. Unless the situation comes, you are only wanting to be seen. So when the situation comes, what decisions you take, that will decide whether you are ethical or not. And that's I can give the examples of many companies. Google used to be seen as a most people-friendly company. No, it's no longer now. So I used to dream to work in Google. Now I don't want, even I get the offer. No. So depends. Yes. All depends. All depends. At this stage of my career, I have got different priorities. So those things do not attract me no longer. Earlier it used to be. So what kind of success the leader wants? The success for all or the success for few? In all, society, customers, stakeholders, everyone. So for all this, it's very important for the leader to govern himself. The leader wants to be served, or leader wants to serve. Really wants to serve. Is it the bigger purpose of the company driving the leader, or the purpose of the organization driving the leader? So that is the question that will decide the kind of decisions the leader takes when the situation arises. Whether the leader is affected by the turbulences of the life, or the leader is equanimous, remains equanimous, whether the leader is able to govern himself in a way that he remains equanimous, and when he remains equanimous, then only he is able to take those decisions on time. So the question of ethics is very, very fluid. I really agree, it's not easy. But it's the personality of the leader plays a very, very big role. Example of Sridharan I can see in the toughest of the situation in the India, when the situation, the atmosphere around him was not right to create that island of excellence metro. He still could do it because of this ethical leadership, and that leadership, that legacy has created, still continues. It is possible. Last point, that whether the leader is able to dissolve his personality for the bigger cause of the company or not. Can he create a company which can outlast him? Can he create a company which can outlast him or not? So that selfless approach, there are companies which are doing it. Jaipur Rugs is one example, N.K. Chaudhary or Sridharan, Tata's. All those companies, there are many smaller companies also, they are not attached to their position. They are committed to the cause and the organization. For that, they can get away with the position also. So then only that, and that company will be, even if the company is not able to achieve the revenue, what the company aspires to do because of the situation, but the companies, the stakeholders associated with the company, they will be fulfilled. That success will be fulfilling success, and that will be sustainable. That is my point. Thank you.
Shaheen, I'd like you to add a perspective. So, I was filling a survey recently on DNI, and there was like 5 questions on: do women see ethics differently, or the companies expect women to be more ethical and define ethics separately? So, I'd like to have a twist to the question and say, what's your take on this?
So, no, I don't think that ethics is related to diversity or ethic is related to any gender specific. Ethic is your value system, what you believe into. And no, I have, in my experience, not seen that a woman is expected to be more ethical and a man is expected to be less. We all are equally responsible to represent our own values. And that's where we make our statement in our organization and in the roles which we play as such.
Thank you for that. I hope I've been able to cover everybody. I'm sorry if I missed anyone. 1 second. Those who've got, yeah, hit the name. I think he had not put a name for what question he wanted, so it got missed. Not in the original one, not in the new one. Original one it was there, new it wasn't there, but I tried. But I was just checking now who got left. That's how I could see. So anybody who got left first.
If you see this, I was reading this Gartner report of last year, their survey that they did at global level. It's a very important point they had. They had a survey on unsettled employer-employee relationships. And they said that number of transformation changes that are happening in an organization, they have risen from 2 in a year in 2016 to 10 in a year in 2022. Imagine number of changes the organization is going through. And on the corollary, the employees, 40, if I recall, 40% employee believe that they can be adaptive to that change that is happening in the organization, and that number was 74% that time. So is it a transformation happening or a chaos happening in the organization? But change is the need of the hour. We talked about many changes, digital changes, cultural changes, that's going to happen, but how do you really hold it? So as I see them, the mechanism could be your leadership framework, your intelligence network, that what you really stand for, it is actually believed across the levels, right? Then your training, and then the leadership, what you also talked about, walk the talk, right? And, and then when it comes to last mile, then the reverse mechanism. What is the feedback mechanism? Do people understand the same language and do the same behaviors, which are multiple layers down the leadership? If not, right, then what is their mechanism to make them understand? And if there is a problem, what is the redressal mechanism? And it goes to the top, and with how much seriousness the leadership is taking those feedbacks. Otherwise, we all know, and somebody did tell us that some leaders make the culture, they decide on the culture and they assume. So culture gets made at the top, but the reality is boils from the bottom. And there are n number of examples that we have seen. If you go 5-6 years back, everybody know the famous Uber case. Travis lost his job. What happened? It was a dream company for most of us. Who will not join a HR head in Uber, right? One single lady has to come in the public domain and say, I was harassed. And it's not that they have immature leadership, but maybe, their focus area could have been performance, growth, numbers, a fantastic customer service. Absolutely. But they missed out a very important point. Are people feeling safe in the organization? And if you go 10 years back, and we know one of the most respected auto company, I just recalled, Maruti Suzuki, Manesar case. Yes. One of our HR fraternity member lost his job, life. Yes. Right? What happened? So imagine you assume, and it's right, in that organization will have best of the practices. Yes. And such restlessness brooding that people are ready to kill in the office. Who is at fault there? Fault is the machinery working fine? Somebody sitting at the top, at middle, is he assuming? And that's the role of a leader. A leader, I always believe leader could be one person or a board, but they have to own it. Again, if you see the studies, you are right, the command leadership is not working. It's a purpose-led. You talk, most of the leaders, they say my top 3 priorities for CXO is not the revenue growth, whatever it is. It is about, is the person a change agent when you hire also? Sure. Can the person drive transformation, right? And how good is he in developing leadership? But the surprising part is, when people said how much of a time you invest, they said only 30%. There's the data shows. Something is not working. So it's still work in progress. So lot needs to be done. Culture is very interesting topics of most of us, and we can talk about ours, but thanks for your time.
Thank you, everybody. It's been a wonderful session. We have to wrap up now. I think all of us have to go for other meetings. It got a little delayed. Apologies for that. But I think, the idea was to share and everybody could speak. If I missed anybody inadvertently, I apologize for that. KK, over to you. Thank you. It's been a privilege. And I thoroughly enjoyed myself and taking a lot of learnings from all of you. Thank you.